Hi and welcome back to my channel. I was going to post a video of me reading and discussing your questions to my last video, Isayama Explains. And by the way, thanks so much to everyone who posted a question, even the haters. But that editing for that is taking longer than I thought. So I decided to post this video instead. The title of the video today is What Attack on Titan Chapter 139 Taught me as a writer about ineffective storytelling. I will do a part 2 which will be all about what Attack on Titan, the manga as a whole, has taught me as a writer about brilliant storytelling, because for the most part the story and the journey was brilliant. Now, as I've mentioned, yes, I'm a writer, but I'm no J.R.R. Martin or Isayama, and I'll probably never sell more than just enough to pay my bills, but I love writing. It's my passion, it's part of my purpose. Words and stories are my escapist drug of choice. Creating worlds and characters has been my saving grace when the real world became too painful. So I wanted to do this video and speak not just as a fan, but as a writer who is always learning and wanting to improve so that I can create stories that move people as much as Attack on Titan moved me for over a decade. Now, Attack on Titan is not perfect. No book, manga, film, song, play, poem, or piece of art is. There are many standards that audiences can judge a story, but to me, the most important measure is the level at which a story connects with people's souls, so much so that the narrative ceases to merely be fiction and the characters become animated with real humanity that is relatable. Attack on Titan was one such story for me, and for the most part, it remains such a story to me. The manga as a whole has taught me priceless lessons on narrative voice, narrative pacing, character development, character studies, thematic application, setting, lore, fantasy, horror, mystery, addressing sensitive topics, beginning a story and ending a story. Most of the lessons I learned have helped make me a better writer, but the ones I want to focus on today are the lessons I learned from chapter 139 about what not to do when ending a story. I have lots, but I'm going to focus on the 2 lessons that have stuck out to me the most. I'll begin with the most obvious one, which is beware the retcon. Retconning and changing or altering the story are 2 different things. A retcon, in my opinion, gets lost in the wow or shocking factor of the new narrative and forgets to do the due diligence of making sure it holds up as authentically and as effectively to the rest of the story and its characters. A retcon takes important elements of a story out and replaces them with subversions that barely pass as satisfying. A retcon is almost there, but that almost there costs the authenticity of the story greatly. A retcon assumes that the audience will just accept what they are given without holding it up to the story and the characters prior. A retcon doesn't earn the conclusion, and it robs the audience from the original narrative and characters. An example of this is, imagine Frodo dropping the ring into the Mount Doom or whatever it's called, but nothing happens. And then out of nowhere, Sam comes up, kills Frodo, and pulls out a necklace that Gandalf had given him in secret, and it turns out that the Dark Lord was connected to this necklace all along. Now, while this retcon might make some sense that Gandalf gave Sam a necklace, but told Frodo and everyone that it was the ring so that all the focus would be on Frodo, it's not satisfying because Sam would not have earned the ending. He would have stolen it from Frodo, who the story set up as the hero. Another example, Jon Snow was set up to be the one to take down the Night King, or at least have a worthy fight with him, but out of nowhere, literally, Arya appears and steals this ending from Jon Snow. And although D&D came up with a stitch explanation to why Arya was the one to take him down based on an altered quote, Arya had nothing to do with the Night King until that moment. Her development as a character and her narrative direction were never connected with the Night King or his demise. Eren was built up the entire story to be the one who fought for freedom at whatever the cost. In the Paths panels, he sets Ymir free, or so we stupidly thought. She is about to obey Zeke, who has royal blood, but she doesn't. She chooses Eren and lends him her strength, and the rumbling does its thing. But the retcon that happened in chapter 139 takes all of that away. It basically nullifies it, and it gives us Mikasa. Now, although Mikasa is an important character, her character and narrative, the entire story, has nothing to do with freedom. Her motivation is Eren, not freedom for her friends or Paradis. So Mikasa shows up, she does what she does, she shows Ymir how to let go of her love for King Fritz, end of story. But this retcon was not earned, because I can't say that I ever thought that Mikasa was suffering from loving Eren. She chose to love him. And we as the audience didn't know until chapter 139 that Ymir was suffering for her love for King Fritz. So while this retcon subverted our expectations, it didn't satisfy. And as a storyteller, I believe it is far more important for your audience to walk away satisfied with your ending, in conjunction, in parallel to the rest of the story, rather than shocked and somewhat perplexed. The second thing chapter 139 taught me about how not to end a story is show, don't tell. This is basic writing 101. This is a rule universally acknowledged by both writers and audiences. Taking your characters and readers on a journey of exposition or reveal is 9 out of 10 times always better than just having one of your characters become a secondary narrator that just feeds the audience information. And dialogue is no exception to this rule. Dialogue between characters or internal monologues, if used well, can be a great way to download important plot points or reveal plot twists or unveil mysteries, but if it's done poorly, it doesn't serve the narrative. Chapter 139, in my opinion, did this poorly. While I love that the chapter begins with Eren and Armin having a conversation, the content of their conversation is forced, stale, somewhat mechanic, and confusing. Instead of showing us the internal and psychological struggle that Eren was in due to the power of the Founding Titan memories, the Attack Titan memories, and Ymir's pull on his will, he simply says things like, "I don't know why." If the story wants us to truly believe that Eren was being puppeted by Ymir's will and that his mind and personality and actions were fragmented because of the Founding Titan powers, it should have dedicated more panels to Eren going through this struggle. Attack on Titan did this brilliantly with the character of Reiner. With just a few geniusly crafted panels and dialogue, Isayama was able to show us Reiner's dissociative disorder. Reiner didn't tell us that he was both scout, ally, and enemy warrior. The story showed us this, and we were able to emote with Reiner. The way Isayama handles Reiner's mental breakdown and split personality was a chef's kiss, but when it comes to Eren, he reduced him to a robotic character who just uttered the lines on the page. The story should have been showing us cracks in Eren's psyche from the time skip. It should have shown Eren struggling to find sanity between the madness of the Founding Titan memories and the Attack Titan memories. It should have shown Eren, the boy who sought for freedom, the Attack Titan himself, fighting against Ymir's influence. But we get none of that. Instead, what we are given from the time skip is an Eren who is clear of mind and purpose like never before. He is a thinking man. He is strategic and patient and mature. His conversation with Reiner portrays a man no longer a whiny teenager who has wrestled with his humanity and his titanship and has chosen his path of freedom at whatever the cost. but chapter 139 Eren reads as though he has become lobotomized, and in a way he was by the retconning of his character and the narrative. Another example of where chapter 139 failed to show and not tell was when Eren revealed that Ymir loved King Fritz and needed Mikasa to set her free. If you're going to get a character other than the ones involved in said reveal or in said plot point, make sure at minimum that that character is able to provide the audience with as much information and sense as possible. The story should have shown us this, either in a flashback that was a Ymir point of view, or between a conversation with Eren or Mikasa or the both of them. Instead, Eren tells us that he doesn't really understand why and that only Ymir knows. If only Ymir knows, then why doesn't she tell us? This kind of lazy and forced reveal is okay for 5 chapters before an ending, maybe even 2 chapters before an ending, but it is unacceptable for the last chapter. Now, there are some plot points and character arcs and stories that can end this way. For example, I'm okay with not really understanding the worm and how its powers precisely work because it was always a mystery. But the entire struggle of the story, all the deaths, all the pain, this 2,000-year-long hell existed because of Ymir. 80% of the world gone. Eren's head gone, Hanji gone, Erwin gone, Flock gone, Sasha gone. And for all of this blood, sweat and tears, we get told only Ymir knows, but she never tells us why. This is a slap in the face to your story and to your audience. Good endings typically don't have massive plot twists or reveals because the purpose of the ending is to bring the story to a conclusion. Now, big plot twists and reveals can work in the ending if the story preceding it has built them up. I enjoy reading and watching videos from fans who love the ending because it just reinforces to me how subjective art is. And I would actually love to do a video with a YouTuber who loved the ending where we can simply and respectfully discuss our takes on the ending. But I have this burning question. If chapter 139 had not yet dropped and all we were at was chapter 139, would any of us have been able to even guess or theorize or analyze that Ymir was in love with King Fritz? And that she was in the paths by choice and she was suffering from loving him and needed to be freed from that suffering. Based on the story up until chapter 138, could any of us say that there was actually anything alluding to this conclusion or hinting at it? Furthermore, did anyone read the panels of Mikasa cutting Eren's head off and thinking, oh, it wasn't just to stop him because the rumbling needed to end, but it was also because Ymir needed to see Mikasa kill the one she loved so she could let go of her love for King Fritz? Now, some of you might argue and say, well, of course we didn't think that because the ending wasn't yet revealed and it was a plot twist and a plot reveal. And to that, I have to retort. Based on what? Plot twists and reveals work when they are backed up by the story leading up to it. That's why we all love foreshadowing. We only know this information about Ymir and Mikasa because chapter 139 tells us. It doesn't show us. The story prior doesn't take us on a journey of reveal. It simply gets to chapter 139 and says, this is what it is, live with it. My theory is that the plot twists and reveals we got in chapter 139 was so forced and left field because the original ending was retconned and there was no other way to inject this direction but at the end of the story where there was really no consequence. Otherwise, Isayama would have had to go back and rewrite a minimum of 10 chapters leading up to the ending to start to sow the seeds of foreshadowing that would make sense to the ending that we got. Now, I want to end this video with a personal example from my own writing. In 2014, I published my second book, which is book one of a sci-fi trilogy called Governor Hate. Recently, my little brother read it, and he gave me his honest feedback. He doesn't hold back, which I love and I need as a writer. So if there are any writers listening, never be afraid to give your work to people, because we desperately need critique. Now, the ending of this book had a pretty big twist and reveal. I thought it was great. I had done the foreshadowing and setting it up, but it took my brother, who read the story once, to say this: I loved the plot twist. It punched me in the gut, but you didn't mention this new technology before, and it kind of didn't make sense or have much payoff to the whole story. Mind you, it took me a year to write this book. It took 2 years of back and forth with my editor, and I have read it multiple times since it's released, and I had never noticed that a key portion of my ending plot twist had nothing in the story preceding it to effectively substantiate it. Sure, it was shocking and awesome, but it wasn't truly earned. When held up against the rest of the story, it fell flat. It came across as convenience as opposed to well thought out. I received a lot of feedback about that book, and most of the readers took my word for it and never questioned the ending, but readers like my brothers did, and I had to put on my big girl panties, acknowledge my mistake, and learn from it. Now, thankfully, I'm not Isayama, who has millions of fans around the world watching him fumble, and I can easily edit those portions and publish a remastered version. This experience and the experience of reading and analyzing chapter 139 has shown me the importance of ending a story well. The ending should never stand on its own. It is the culmination of the entire story. The ending is not an epilogue or a prologue or a spin-off. It is the homogenized conclusion of the story. I would happily take a predictable, satisfying ending over a shocking ending full of subversion any day. Well, that's it. That's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you so much for listening, for commenting, and for subscribing. It really does mean a lot to me. Love you all. Have a blessed weekend. Bye.